I move that the council have a public hearing for the proposed sale of 9.8389 acres of city-owned property on Butterworth Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Rory?
Yes.
Mr. Phelps?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Weisterman?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. David?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Kennedy?
So, just a little history. I don't want to drag on too much of some of the history. My history of the city goes back to 2014. A lot of the activity, the creation of the TIF, which is both what we call the Christman farm, which is city-owned property, and it consists of 9.8 acres, and also the Crane property, which consists of 16.1 acres. Those are located in the TIF. A TIF is a tax increment financing where the city can get advances on anticipated future taxes to use for projects. Basic sense is downtown isn't a TIF. The city received advanced taxes of which went into the development of Loveland Station. That is now sending in revenues into the city. When they did the TIF with the Crane property and the Christman farm, the thought was that there would be a development, primarily on the Crane property with the access through the city property to Christman farm. Ultimately, that was what we call SPD 14, Special Planning District 14. It was a development that was originally going to consist of 70 attached units and then was ultimately reduced by City Council to 58 units. Again, this is before my time, but I understand mainly the main reason that the developer walked away is the offsite cost. Water is one thing, sewer is all the way down on Kent Road, so it's a pretty significant run up to, even to the corner. So a little more history. So I got here in 14, and at this point in time, I can honestly tell you since September of 2014 until 2 weeks ago, we have always received interest from developers on the properties. They're sort of married together. It's hard for the Crane property to be developed without the Christman farm. They're one and the same. Lots of conversations with the Crane farm. I will tell you, and I speak on behalf of this city council, we received quite a few proposals that would never fit well in that area. Equal number of units, often attached, and as we would go through them and they would get through various steps and processes, some of them came with dollar amounts, formal LOIs, letters of intents submitted to the city. At the end of the day, I do want to say I'm not an elected official, so you don't have to vote for me, but it really truly was, Dave, that we're not putting that up there by Brandywine. We're not putting that type of product up in that area, and that is as honest as I can tell you. We even had a proposal once for 111 units. It was about $145,000 more than what we're selling for 111 units that were basically townhomes in a sense. Again, the city had no interest in trying to put a product like that. This has gone up and down over the years with a lot of developments. So what happened that I think sort of upped the ante? My message to council was I don't know how I'm ever going to get a true low density product up there unless we get creative and we figure out a way to run the sewer up there. If we run the sewer up to that property, it's a public sewer. It would go up State Route 48 and go up a little bit on Butterworth. The city would own it, the city would maintain it, the city can use it. But we could recoup our money through an assessment on the property. We would put assessments on this development. This has nothing to do with Butterworth Arena. Every person who would buy in this development will, just like anything, this is what you're going to pay for your lighting district. I don't know what their HOA fees are going to be. It's not really our concern. Here's what you're going to pay over 20 years to pay the city back for running the sewer up here. Once the agreement was that that's a smart way for us to move this project forward, myself and my staff went back to the numerous single-family home builders that we talked with. We made it very clear we were not going to do an apartment, a condo, a townhome type project anymore, and said we want low-density, detached, single-family that mirror the size, if not less density, than the two neighboring subdivisions. Out of that came, we got down to basically two two proposals. And the proposal that came to us just recently and that is presented to the city currently is 30 lots up to 35. I believe it will end up staying at 30. 20 on the Crane parcel. Those are they will classify as the estate homes. Starting at 850, most of them will get up into the $1.2 million range. All of those are 3/4 acre lots. Those are large lots, 110 to 120 foot wide lots, all side entry garages, which is a certain appeal. That particular section of the development was submitted to the Cincinnati Home Builders Association to be considered for the 2020 Homerama show, and it was recently selected. So 2022, 2022 Homerama show, and it was recently selected, and I received verification on that. So what the proposal of the plan would do is the estate homes would go on the Crane parcel. What they call the estate empty nester homes, which start at 550 and go up from there, would be on the city parcel. Their proposal to do the project would be, they would not start on the city parcel until after the Homerama show is over. Then, one of the things this does is, I think it meets my challenge and my staff's challenge from council is, give us a product that can fit, that fits up there, that works in harmony with the two surrounding subdivisions, Brandywine and Butterworth. I feel as a staff, we check that box. From a financial standpoint, $350,000. Their original offer was $150,000. My comment was, I will not take that to city council. That is at $350,000. Considering we're taking care of the sewer line, it seemed like $150,000 was too low, especially, of course, and the residents will be paying off the assessment. Just so you know, those assessments, it's pretty clear. They come in to Michelle, and it shows each property, and it goes right back into the sewer fund to do those funds. If we met the challenge of council's task for me was give us a product that we would be proud of, I feel like, I know people are going to disagree, but I feel like I reached that product, especially with what else we were looking at. And then from a financial standpoint, because it's a TIF that went in place probably formally in 2008, it to this date has produced no money, obviously. Vacant land doesn't produce TIF. If Loveland Station never happened, it wouldn't be producing TIF money. So the debt service, though, as you can imagine, the bankers want the money. So every year, the general fund has been transferring money into the recreation land TIF to cover that fund. And we keep track, the lady over there keeps track of that to the penny. That current amount of money is $636,710. That money needs to go back to the general fund. And then we have to finish off our debt service, which is $347. So based on the calculations, the need to pay back the general fund, the need to finish off the debt service, and then get the additional TIF revenues that once they can come in, they can be used for a variety of projects. It can be, I don't want to start saying projects, it's wide open. Make improvements, obviously, some slippage along Butterworth. It's a wide range, it can be citywide. My estimate, based on at the end of 2037, the TIF ends at 2030. At 2037, all taxes go back to the WIC. Everyone gets what they're supposed to get. These are sort of like supercharged taxes at this point in time. So I followed the bouncing ball of how we would get the money, how it would come in over different periods of time, how the TIF would keep increasing. The TIF goes up as more homes are built and the value is set. How we pay off the debt, how we're paying off the general fund, and at the end of the day, the city would net around $1,470,000 in total TIF revenues after the general fund and all the debt service has been paid off. So if that was the other challenge is, I have to make the city whole financially with this development. I think we've met that challenge. The other process was an extra was, will this be a product that I think will benefit the city for the 2020 Homerama show, I think just started and ended. I believe they go from about a Wednesday to a Sunday. I think 2021 is in Anderson Township, and they'll soon be announcing in 2022. So I feel like the product meets it. So from a zoning standpoint, that SPD 14, it no longer exists. If you read any of our city's SPD regulations, an SPD only has certain numbers of days, certain types, certain periods of time that they must do certain things. Obviously, none of that's done. That is no longer SPD 14. The city cannot slip this into any kind of SPD without going through the SPD process. That is impossible. It reverts back to what it came in when it was annexed, which is RLD, and that's not it. So they now have to go for a formal SPD process. They have to have, just recently, this city council added a hearing to, an additional hearing to the SPD process. So they have to have multiple hearings in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission. They have to lay out everything that they will do in this development, what the entry area is going to look like, where the sidewalk's going to be, everything. That has been recommended by Planning and Zoning Commission, makes a recommendation to this body, more public hearings, where they then allow the public to see that this is what we're doing time-wise, and that process, when they come to city, when any time somebody comes to City Hall and says, I want to do an SPD rather than a straight regular zone change, we say to them, be prepared, it takes about 6 months. And I've only done one in my time with the city, and it's the River Ridge Apartments, the Ridge up on Loveland Road, past Kroger's, the one on the left, that took about 6 months. So it seems like a pretty good period of time. So the total revenue to the city would be the $350. It would be the impact fees that we receive for homes. That'd be about $30,000 in impact fees. And then, of course, over time, ongoing, increasing TIF revenues to the city. What we do, which we've done just recently with the sale of the White Pillars home, and recently of the sale of some vacant property in the Heights, is that we transfer the property to CIC. It's an arm of the city. Then they would work out the deal with the organization that would be purchasing the property, CB Butterworth LLC. I will be honest with you, there's a little bit of an expediting this process because I've ran some sewer lines in my time, and it is not an easy process. And if I have the goal, if it's on me to, after the zoning, if everything is approved, we need to move along with the sewer proposals. So that's pretty much what I have. If you didn't get to see anything, you can go to the city's website. If you go to the agenda, you can see my memo, outlines the TIF revenues. It also gives you the preliminary layout and the style of homes that are anticipated to be built, the estate models and the empty nester models. My TIF, just for the record, my TIF numbers are valued all at the starting number, 850. So that is how I make it conservative. I'm keeping the TIF number low by only saying 850 when that's where these all start. So I anticipate that the TIF revenues will be higher, and that would be more money to generate to the city after that. So I care about what the surrounding communities get up there, and we met with people, and those were not good products. I don't know, my personal thing, I don't know how I could, after almost 6 years of looking at this property, I don't know how I would end up with, my personal opinion, and it's just my opinion, is a better product for that area. Low density. What does low density mean? Decreased impact on traffic, and quality homes that helps the two surrounding neighborhoods. So I think that's pretty much what I have. And if you go home and feel like you have a question, I like to think I'm one of the more accessible city managers around. I welcome you to call me, and I can email you. All of this is public record. I can send you all of this information. I can give you what I anticipate the timeline will be, when the various public hearings would be. But at this point, I have another job, which is trying to move this along. So.
And as Mr. Cummings mentioned, that we are transferring this to the CIC. That actually is the only thing we're doing tonight, is transferring the property to the CIC. That's one thing on the agenda that will be voted.
Yeah, they serve as our agent. And to be honest with you, Why does that work better? Because if the city has to put this out for public bid, we have much less control over the product that gets to go in there. It's the same reason we did with the White Pillars. We wanted someone to go into the White Pillars, the most historic home in the city, who knew what the heck they were doing when it came to restoration. CIC has that ability, the city does not. Transferring this to the CIC after we've worked to get a good product is the way any city would handle this type of transaction.
All right, so let's bring up the first speaker.